The galaxy thought humanity had grown quiet, too quiet. And the silence was strange, unsettling, like the pause before a storm. For years, alien watchers kept their eyes on Earth and its colonies, waiting for some sign of weakness, waiting for a mistake. But what they saw instead was emptiness, fleets vanishing, factories closing, people leaving their cities as if the human race had decided to fade away. Deep inside hollow asteroids, under the frozen shells of dead moons, and within oceans that no alien dared to enter, something massive was being built. The sound of steel grinding against steel echoed through hidden caverns. Sparks showered in the darkness. Engines roared without end. Men and women worked day and night, their voices low, their eyes hard. "Keep it steady," one engineer whispered as he guided a giant crane, its claw lowering a piece of black armor bigger than a mountain. One wrong move and we lose the whole section. A woman in a grey suit walked across the catwalk, her boots echoing against the metal. She watched the workers carefully, her voice calm but sharp. "No mistakes, not now. The galaxy believes we are sleeping, and we must keep it that way," another worker muttered. "Do you think they suspect?" "They wonder," she replied, her eyes narrowing. "But wondering is not knowing, and by the time they know, it will already be too late." Beneath them, in the shadows of the forge, something stirred. An enormous frame shaped like a world itself, its surface still incomplete. Glowing lights ran through hidden veins like blood, pulsing slowly, as if the machine was breathing far beyond. Alien scouts sent back their reports. "Humans are withdrawing," one captain said in a quiet chamber. "Their colonies are silent, their fleets have gone dark," another alien hissed, his eyes glowing faint green. "That silence is dangerous, too dangerous. Nothing alive goes that quiet without reason." But the council laughed, their voices sharp and cruel. "Humans are weak, always building, always dreaming, but never finishing. If they vanish, perhaps they are breaking apart, perhaps their time is ending." Yet in the dark of the human forge, no one laughed. The workers knew what they were building. They knew why the stars themselves would one day tremble. On one forgotten asteroid, a young technician leaned against a console, staring at the massive shadow outside the viewport. "It looks alive," he whispered, his voice shaking. Beside him, an older officer placed a hand on the glass. "It is alive in its own way, forged by us, bound to us when the time comes. It will move like the world itself has grown teeth." The technician swallowed hard. "But why keep it secret? Why not show the galaxy what we have?" The officer smiled faintly, but there was no warmth in his eyes. "Because power in the shadows is more frightening than power on display. Let them wonder, let them fear the silence. That fear is worth more than weapons." Back in alien space, rumors began to spread. Fleets reported vanishing into black zones where signals died. Supply routes collapsed without explanation. Some claimed they had seen a star blink out for a second, as if something had passed before it. Something vast at the Council of Stars. Voices rose in panic. "We must act now," one alien shouted. "If humans are hiding something, we cannot let them finish it," another growled, "and risk war with shadows. Better to wait, better to watch, better to let their silence consume them." But not all were convinced. Not all were patient. Small fleets moved toward human space, scouting, searching, and never returning. Their last transmissions were fragments of static, followed by silence. Inside the forge, alarms rang. A worker ran to the woman in the grey suit, breathless. "Scouts detected at the edge of the system. They're getting too close." The woman's eyes hardened. She pressed a control on her wrist, and a voice filled the chamber, deep and mechanical, as if spoken by the forge itself. "Engage veil. Nothing must be seen." And then, like a curtain falling, darkness spread around the machine, bending light, bending sound, covering the half-built giant with shadow so deep that even the stars behind it disappeared. The technician gasped. "It's gone, completely gone." "Even to us," the officer nodded. "Good. Let the scouts fly blind. They will return with nothing, and their fear will grow." One night, deep in the void, a worker swore. He felt the ground beneath him shake. Not from tools, not from drills, but from something deeper. as if the machine itself had shifted, as if it had opened one eye in its slumber. He whispered into the dark, "You are not finished, but you are alive, and one day the stars will know your name." The silence returned, heavy and endless, and across the galaxy, alien worlds trembled without knowing why. The galaxy was restless. Whispers carried through space like cold winds. Fleets of alien ships patrolled near human borders, but found nothing. Colonies that once shined with lights were now empty, dark and silent. Where did they go? One alien captain asked in disbelief, his eyes locked on the empty surface of a human colony world. Towers stood tall, streets stretched far, but not a single human walked there. Not a single light burned. Another officer leaned forward, his claws tapping against the console. "It is impossible. Millions lived here. They cannot vanish without leaving a trace." The captain shook his head slowly. "And yet they have. They are gone. Not destroyed, not dead. Simply gone." Back in human space, the truth was very different. Deep inside enormous hollow spheres, hidden far from prying eyes, humanity was gathering. Entire fleets moved silently through secret lanes, their engines wrapped in shadows, their signals cut off from the galaxy. Inside one of the dark chambers, a group of workers sat around a long metal table, their faces lit by a faint red glow. "My brother lived on Vega Colony," one whispered. "He wrote to me that they were being moved. No explanation, only orders. The next day, his signal stopped. I've not heard from him since." A commander, tall and stern, stood at the head of the table, his voice calm but heavy. "Your brother is alive. They all are, every man, woman, and child has been moved to the forges. The work demands hands, and humanity cannot leave even one idle." The worker frowned. "But why hide? Why make the colonies empty? The aliens think we are weak. They will come." The commander's lips curved into a faint smile. "That is the point. Let them think we are broken. Let them come, and when they do, they will see nothing but shadows." Far away, in the Council of Stars, alien leaders argued loudly, their voices filling the chamber. "They are preparing for something," one shouted. "No race abandons their colonies without reason. They are hiding their true strength." Another slammed a fist against the table. "Nonsense. They are collapsing. Their silence is weakness. This is the time to strike." But an elder alien leaned forward, his voice low, his eyes burning with fear. "You fools! Weakness does not consume worlds in silence. Weakness does not erase millions without a trace. They are not collapsing. They are becoming something else." On a distant moon, hidden deep under layers of rock, a young technician walked through a tunnel carved into the stone. Beside him, a soldier carried a lantern, its light bouncing against walls lined with pipes. "Why move us here?" the technician asked, his voice echoing in the narrow space. "My home was safe. My family had food. Why leave it all behind for this darkness?" The soldier's jaw tightened. "Because safety is an illusion. The galaxy waits to strike us down. Here we build what will save us all. You will understand soon." The tunnel opened into a vast chamber, and the technician stopped breathing for a moment. Before him stretched an endless cavern, filled with lights, machines, and ships. Thousands of humans worked in silence, their tools glowing in the shadows. At the center stood a colossal frame of steel so large it seemed to scrape the heavens. The soldier whispered, "This is why, this is what your hands are for. This is what all the colonies were emptied for." The technician trembled. "It looks like a planet." "No," the soldier corrected softly. "It is more than a planet. It is a weapon, a shield, a new world that moves at our command." Meanwhile, alien fleets that dared to step deeper into human space began to vanish. One by one their signals cut off mid-transmission. One captain screamed into the comms before his voice turned to static. The darkness moves, the stars, then nothing. Only silence. Panic spread. More scouts went in and none returned. At the human forge, alarms blared. A commander barked orders. "They are searching closer. Cloak the fleets, seal the chambers. Nothing must be seen." Engines roared as ships slipped into the void. Covered by fields that bent light itself, an entire armada vanished into darkness, unseen, unheard. One worker looked at the vast shadow rising in the cavern and whispered, "If they discover us now, will we survive?" The commander placed a hand on the worker's shoulder. "They will not, because they cannot, even if they reach the edge of our walls. They will see nothing, and in that blindness, their fear will grow." Back in alien council halls, silence replaced shouting. Messages from their fleets had stopped. Maps showed growing black zones where no ship returned. One alien ruler finally spoke, his voice broken. "It is not disappearance. It is not weakness. It is a warning. The humans are preparing for something far beyond us." The council chamber grew cold as the truth spread like poison. They had mocked the silence, but now the silence itself was devouring them. In the darkness of the forge, the technician looked up at the unfinished giant, its frame glowing faintly as power surged through hidden veins. He whispered, "When it wakes, will the stars even survive?" The soldier beside him only answered with silence, a silence deeper and heavier than fear, a silence that promised the galaxy would soon learn the meaning of the great disappearance. The stars burned cold and distant, but in one hidden system, something far larger than any starship stirred beneath the crust of a dead planet. For years, it had been silent, resting under layers of stone and steel. But now the silence was breaking, deep inside the cavern. Thousands of humans worked in perfect rhythm. Sparks rained from welding arcs, engines roared like thunder, and giant panels of armor slid into place with the sound of mountains grinding together. A young technician stood near the control deck, his hands shaking as the readings rose on his screen. "Sir," he whispered, "power is surging through the core. It's waking up." The commander stepped closer, his eyes fixed on the data. "Stabilize the flow. Do not let it run wild. If it breaches too soon, we lose everything." The technician swallowed hard. "What if we can't control it? What if it breaks free?" The commander's voice was calm but sharp. "Then pray the stars are ready, because nothing else will stop it far above." Alien scouts drifted on the edge of the system, their ships cloaked, their eyes locked on the dark planet below. "Strange readings," one alien captain murmured, his long fingers tapping across the console. The crust trembles, but no volcano erupts, no weapons fire. "What are they hiding?" Another officer hissed. "It feels alive. I do not like this. Let us leave before it." The officer never finished. The planet shook violently. Light burst through cracks in the surface, glowing red and white, and a sound like a deep hum rolled across the void. Every alien on the ship froze, their eyes wide with horror. "What was that?" the captain whispered, his voice breaking. The officer stared at the planet as a massive shadow pushed against the crust, stone splitting, fire spilling into space. "Something is moving under the ground." Back in the forge chamber, alarms screamed. Workers ran across the platforms, but none fled. They knew this was the moment, the day their silence was meant for. "Stabilizers at full power," one shouted. "Plasma vents are flooding. We can't contain it much longer." The commander raised his voice. "Do not contain it, guide it, let it breathe." And then it happened. With a sound like a world splitting apart, the crust of the planet tore open. A massive eye of burning light opened from within, glowing like a newborn sun. The machine beneath stirred for the first time, its movements shaking moons out of orbit. The technician fell to his knees, his voice trembling. "It's alive by the stars. It's alive." The commander did not kneel. He stood firm, his hand resting on the railing, his voice steady. "Alive, yes, and it belongs to us, far away." Alien fleets detected the vibration. Across dozens of systems, comms crackled with strange static, strange tones that made even hardened captains shiver. One alien admiral stared at the readings, his scales rising in fear. "This is not natural, this is not weapon fire. This is something else, something built. Something massive," another officer whispered. "What did the humans do?" In the chamber, the technician stared at his screen. "The energy output is beyond measure. No weapon matches this. No starship carries this strength. If it moves fully, it could swallow an empire whole." The commander's lips curled into a thin smile. "Good, then let the galaxy tremble. It is time they learn that silence is not weakness. Silence is preparation. The machine continued to rise, its surface glowing with rivers of molten light. Armor plates the size of continents shifted into place, and its hum grew louder, echoing across the stars. On the alien scout ship, panic took hold. "Retreat! Retreat now!" the captain shouted. "Send warning to the Council. Humanity has awakened something the stars cannot contain." But as they turned, their screens flickered. Shadows stretched across space, and their ship was gone, swallowed without sound in the human forge. The technician whispered, "The scouts are gone, erased." "They didn't even scream," the commander nodded. "Good. Their silence will carry farther than words ever could. When the Council wonders what happened, their fear will tell them the truth." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, alien rulers gathered in panic. "It was only a rumor," one muttered. "They said humans were building something. But not this, never this," another snarled. "We must unite now, strike them before it's too late." But the elder of the council spoke slowly, his voice heavy with dread. "Too late already. You cannot strike what you cannot see. You cannot fight what is already awake." Back in the forge, the machine lowered its head, the eye of fire dimming, settling back into slumber. The ground stopped shaking, the light faded, and silence returned. The technician looked up, confused. It went back to sleep." The commander turned to him. "Yes, but now the stars know it dreams, and one day soon it will rise fully when we choose. Not before." The technician stared at the massive frame, his chest tight with awe and fear. If that was only its first breath, what happens when it truly wakes? The commander's eyes hardened, his voice carrying across the chamber. "When it truly wakes, the galaxy will no longer belong to the stars. It will belong to us." The forge went quiet once more. But the silence was no longer the silence of hiding. It was the silence of something vast and unstoppable, waiting, dreaming, and promising that the first awakening was only the beginning. The galaxy trembled after the first awakening. The hum of the machine had echoed across star systems, stirring fear in every empire. What once were whispers turned into shouts. And now the councils of alien races gathered in haste. In a vast chamber of stone and steel, the leaders of 5 great empires sat in a circle, their faces hard, their voices filled with anger and dread. "They cannot be allowed to finish it," one shouted, his scaled fists slamming the table. "If humanity builds more of these giants, none of us will survive." Another leaned forward, her eyes narrow, her long fingers curling like blades. "We should have acted long ago. Now they are too far, too strong, too hidden." But a third voice rose, calm but sharp. "And if we act now, what then? You saw what happened to the scouts. Entire fleets vanished without sound. If we march to war, we may not return." The chamber fell silent for a moment, the weight of fear pressing on every throat. At last, the elder of the council spoke, his voice heavy with years of rule. "The humans are not weak, they never were. While we watched the stars, they built in the shadows. And now the shadows belong to them. Still, not all agreed," one young commander shouted. "Cowards, all of you! We cannot sit and tremble while they prepare to destroy us. I say we strike now, burn their hidden forges, shatter their worlds before they wake again." The room erupted in argument, voices clashing like weapons. "They are too strong. They are not ready yet. We can still crush them. If we fight, we die. If we wait, we die slower, far away in the human forge." Workers and soldiers listened as fragments of alien transmissions were intercepted. Laughter echoed through the chamber when the recordings played. "Listen to them," one engineer chuckled, "arguing like frightened children. They don't know whether to fight or run." A commander smiled thinly. "And that is exactly what we wanted. Let their fear tear them apart. And while we grow stronger," the young technician from before spoke quietly. "But what if they unite? What if fear makes them stand together?" The commander's eyes hardened. "They won't. Fear divides faster than it binds. Watch them. They will tear their alliance apart with their own hands." And he was right. In the alien chamber, the arguments grew worse. Alliances that had lasted centuries began to crack. One leader hissed, "If you do nothing, then my people will act alone. We will strike the humans ourselves." Another slammed her claw against the table. "And if you drag us into your war, then your worlds will burn with theirs." Blades were drawn, guards raised weapons, and only the elder's booming voice stopped the chamber from collapsing into bloodshed. "Enough," he roared. "If we fight each other, humanity will not need to lift a finger. We will destroy ourselves for them." But the damage was already done. The alliance was fractured. Suspicion poisoned the air. That night, fleets began to move in secret. Some prepared for war against humanity. Others turned their weapons toward their so-called allies. And in the shadows, human scouts watched and recorded every betrayal back in the forge. The technician approached the commander nervously. "They're fighting each other already. Fleets moving against fleets. Whole borders turning to fire." The commander nodded, his face unreadable. "Good. Every shot they fire at each other saves us time. Every world they burn weakens them for what is coming." "But sir," the technician asked, his voice trembling, "what if they realize their mistake? What if they stop fighting each other and turn back to us?" The commander looked up at the enormous shadow of the sleeping machine, its surface glowing faintly like a heartbeat. "Then they will face this, and by then it will be too late. Far away, in alien space, betrayal spread like fire. One fleet moved against another, accusing them of secret talks with humans. Planets burned under weapons meant for allies. Trust shattered in one council chamber. An alien general turned to his leader, his voice shaking. "This is madness. We should be fighting the humans, not each other." His leader spat in anger. "You fool, you think the humans are our only enemy? Look around, our allies plot against us. Better to strike first than be betrayed." And so the alliance fell apart, not with a single war, but with many small wars, each one cutting deeper into the bond that once held them together. In the forge, the technician stood on the observation deck, staring at the stars, his heart heavy. "They are tearing themselves apart. But I do not feel joy. I feel only dread." Beside him, the commander placed a firm hand on the railing, his voice calm but cold. "Do not pity them. They chose to mock us, to watch us as if we were insects. Now they will learn what it means to fear in silence," the technician whispered. "And when the silence ends..." The commander's eyes flickered toward the machine below, its giant frame hidden under layers of shadow. Its hum faint but growing. "When the silence ends, there will be no alliance left to stop us." The forge rumbled faintly, a low growl that echoed through the stone walls. The technician closed his eyes, feeling the vibration in his chest, and he knew the galaxy was changing forever. The fractured alliance would never heal, and when humanity chose to rise, nothing in the stars could stand united against them. The galaxy had grown restless. The fractured alliance of empires now sat in ruins. Their fleets burned one another, their borders cracked with betrayal. Yet in the midst of chaos, one truth kept spreading like fire. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not gone. Humanity was waiting. On a quiet night in deep space, an alien fleet patrolled a border system, their ships gliding through silence. Their captains nervous. "Do you feel that?" One officer whispered as the stars flickered outside. "The void feels wrong, as if something is breathing." The captain's eyes narrowed. "Stay sharp, the humans are near, I can feel it." Suddenly the stars dimmed. A massive shadow fell across the patrol. One officer screamed, "It's a world!" "No, it's moving." From the darkness a colossal shape emerged, its armor glowing with rivers of molten light. Weapons the size of cities bristled across its surface, an entire planet of steel drifting with purpose. On every alien ship, silence reigned, hearts froze, words failed. The captain whispered, "That is no world. That is a weapon." At the same moment across the galaxy, the human forges stirred. One by one, giant machines lit up in the void, their hums echoing like thunder across the stars. Entire fleets emerged from the shadows, their hulls black and sharp, their weapons glowing faintly with restrained fire. Inside one of the human command chambers, a young technician stood pale, his eyes wide as the giant machine appeared before him on the screen. It's complete, fully armed, fully awake. The commander stepped forward, his face unreadable. Yes, now the galaxy will listen. The technician's voice shook. But what if they don't? What if they attack? The commander's lips curved into a faint smile. Then we remind them why we built these in silence. For the first time in centuries, humanity spoke to the galaxy. A single transmission carried across every channel. It was not shouted, it was not angry, it was calm. Steady like iron. The voice said, "We are awake now. Do not mistake our silence for weakness." Across alien worlds, civilians froze as the words reached them. Leaders stared at the sky, rulers trembled. In one alien council chamber, silence hung heavy. One ruler slammed a fist against the table. "They dare to threaten us." Another leaned forward, her eyes sharp with fear. "No, not threaten, warn. They could have attacked already, yet they only speak." The elder of the council lowered his head. "Because they do not need to threaten. They only need to reveal what they have built." "And we understand." Back on the patrol fleet near the machine, panic rose, weapons charged, alarms screamed. "Should we fire?" One officer shouted. "Should we run?" The captain gripped the console, his voice breaking. "Neither, because it won't matter." As if hearing his fear, the machine stirred. Its massive weapons lit for a brief second, brighter than a star, and then dimmed again. A warning, not a strike. The alien ships shuddered as if pushed back by invisible weight, their crews gasping in terror. In the forge chamber, the technician whispered, "Why reveal it now? Why show them?" The commander's eyes remained fixed on the glowing machine. Because fear must have a face. Until now, the galaxy feared whispers, shadows, rumors, but now they fear truth. And truth is heavier than silence. The technician's hands trembled. And what if the truth drives them to unite? What if they finally come together to fight us? The commander turned, his eyes sharp as steel. Then they will unite too late. Because the balance is already broken, they are already afraid. And fear kills unity, far away in alien space. Small rebellions broke out. Civilians demanded their leaders act. Others demanded peace. Fleets refused orders. Captains deserted, chaos spread. One alien general stood before his ruler, his voice low. "If we attack, we die. If we do nothing, we die slower. What choice do we have?" The ruler's face was pale, his voice hollow. "The choice is no longer ours. The humans have already chosen for us." In the human forge, silence returned after the transmission ended. The technician stood still, his chest heavy with fear and awe. "We showed them one, only one. How many more do we have?" The commander glanced at the shadows stretching across the stars, his voice calm. "Enough, more than enough," the technician asked softly. "Will we ever use them?" The commander looked at him, his eyes cold and certain. "That depends on them if they force our hand. The stars themselves will burn." The giant machine outside shifted slowly, its surface bristling with restrained power, yet it did not fire. It did not strike. It only drifted forward like a silent god in the void. Alien worlds stared at the sky that night and understood the new truth. The galaxy no longer belonged to them. It belonged to the ones who had worked in silence. It belonged to the ones who built planets of steel and fire. It belonged to humanity. And in that revelation, the stars themselves seemed to tremble. The galaxy had heard humanity's message, a calm voice that carried more weight than 1,000 fleets. Yet silence followed, not because the stars were empty, but because fear gripped every empire. In one alien council chamber, rulers sat in shadows, their voices low, their faces pale. "They showed us one," one whispered, "just one. And it was enough to break us." Another leaned forward, his claws scraping the table. "What if there are more? What if every vanished colony, every empty world, was building another?" The elder of the council closed his eyes, his voice heavy with dread. "Then the galaxy is already lost. For we will never match such power." While the empires argued in fear, in the deep void of space more shadows stirred. Giant shapes drifted from the darkness, one then another, their surfaces glowing faintly as if stars themselves had been trapped in cages of steel. On a hidden station, a young technician stared at the screens, his hands shaking. "I count 6, maybe 7 already." The commander behind him spoke calmly. "There are more, hidden farther still, scattered across systems they will never find. Humanity does not build one blade when it can forge many." The technician's voice broke. "Then why not strike now? Why not crush them before they recover?" The commander's eyes narrowed. "Because power is not only in the strike. Power is in the pause before it. Let them tremble. Let them fear what has not yet come. Fear destroys faster than fire." Far away, an alien fleet gathered in secret. Captains desperate, their ships scarred from battles against their own allies. "We cannot wait," one captain declared. "If we do nothing, humanity will enslave us all." "We must strike first, even if we die," another shouted. "You fool! If we strike, we will vanish like the others. Their machines will swallow us whole. Do you not hear the silence? Every fleet that dared approach has been erased." The room erupted in chaos until a lone voice cut through, trembling but firm. "Perhaps the war is already lost. Perhaps the stars no longer belong to us." Back in the human forge, the machines stirred, massive eyes of fire opening one after another. Their hums rising like a chorus. The ground shook, the air vibrated. Even the void itself seemed to pulse. The technician whispered, "They are all waking." The commander placed a hand on the railing. His voice like iron. "Yes, one was enough to make them fear, but many will make them surrender." The technician frowned. "And if they don't surrender?" The commander's face hardened. "Then the stars themselves will burn." Above them, the largest of the machines shifted, its surface glowing brighter than the sun. Entire moons trembled as gravity bent around it. Nearby stars flickered as if bowing before its power. On alien worlds, panic spread. Civilians flooded the streets, temples filled with prayers. Leaders issued desperate commands, but no order calmed the fear. One alien child pointed at the night sky and asked his father, "Why are the stars shaking?" The father had no answer, his eyes filled with tears, for he too saw the trembling heavens. In one shattered empire, the last surviving admiral faced his generals. "The humans have changed the order of the galaxy. They do not need war. Their silence is enough." What weapon can fight silence when silence is filled with giants? The generals lowered their heads, none could answer. Back in the forge chamber, the technician turned to the commander, his voice quiet but heavy. "We have won without firing a shot, haven't we?" The commander nodded slowly. "Yes, the war is over before it began. They will kneel not because we destroy them, but because they know we could." The technician swallowed. "But what if some refuse? What if pride blinds them?" The commander's eyes darkened. "Then pride will be burned from the stars." In the void, the machines aligned, their weapons glowing faintly, but none fired. They only drifted, watching, waiting, like gods carved from steel. And across the galaxy, the truth settled in every heart. Humanity had built more than machines. They had built fear itself, living, breathing, endless fear. The stars trembled that night, not from war, not from fire, but from silence. A silence so heavy it crushed empires, broke alliances, and bent the galaxy to its knees. The technician whispered to himself, staring at the endless shapes in the dark, "We are no longer part of the galaxy. We are its rulers." The commander stood beside him, his eyes fixed on the trembling heavens, his voice steady. "No, we are more than rulers. We are the end and the beginning, and the stars will never forget." The machines continued to drift, silent titans in the void, their shadows falling across entire systems. And in that silence, the galaxy understood the final truth. The stars no longer belonged to themselves. They belonged to humanity,